All right, let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. Elodia, roll call. Present.
I can't hear. I can't hear.
Mrs. Sanborn?
Present.
Mr. Sedma?
Here.
Mrs. Work?
Present. Okay, let's go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. Right. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, it is recommended the governing board approve the agenda as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, it is recommended the governing board approve the minutes of the July 9th, 2020 public hearing, regular meeting, and study session.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All right, moving on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Sprout.
Thank you, President Anderson, governing board members, and I'm going to share my screen here. Are we okay, Richard? All right, here we go. So once again, President Anderson, governing board members, it has been a busy month since our last governing board meeting, and I mean busy. But through it all, I must acknowledge the incredible professionalism and dedication of the Levine staff. To put it in perspective, never in our lifetimes have any of us faced the unique challenges that starting this school year has brought to us. But time and time again, the Levine team has risen to the occasion. We have also greatly appreciated the leadership of the governing board and the support of our parents and community during this time. We are all doing our best, and here are my updates. New teacher induction was held, much of it virtually, during the week of July 20th. Our 71 teachers attended training sessions with a focus on using technology to deliver curriculum, our curricular programs, our mentoring and induction of new teachers program or MINT program, and systems at their schools. The feedback from our participants was overwhelmingly positive, with 96% of our new teachers giving it an overall rating of a 4 or a 5. And general comments included many new teachers saying thanks and expressing their excitement to begin the new school year. We did not do our normal welcome back celebration in a crowded gym this year. Instead, I sent out a 7-minute video on behalf of the governing board and myself titled Setting the Trajectory. Our theme this year, Setting the Trajectory, focused on how at any given moment we can change the trajectory of a person's life, as illustrated by a former Vista del Sur student, Avia Khan, who is starting her freshman year at Harvard University. And many staff members in our district helped set the trajectory in her life. At one point during the video, staff were asked to pause and send an email or text message to someone who set a trajectory in their lives, and to resolve to do the same this year in the lives of students, staff, family, friends, and those with whom we have chance encounters. The message generated hundreds of positive messages to well-deserving recipients. Also, during the week of July 27th, all of our teachers reported to work and received training on the process for delivering online instruction through our distance learning plan, including how to utilize Google Classroom, Google Meet, and Nearpod with consistency across the district. And that has paid huge dividends. We are already seeing here at the beginning of the year. We had a committee, our learning committee, that met throughout the summer, and our instructional coaches shared lesson resources that were created over the summer, and teachers had the opportunity to collaborate by grade level across the district through virtual team meetings. And once again, the participant feedback for these trainings was also very, very positive, with 96% reporting that they gained new knowledge or ideas from the sessions they attended. And as you can see also, all of our schools develop ways to welcome back their students. This is a video, an excerpt from a video of Gabe over at Rogers Ranch, welcoming back his students. Also last week, we wrapped up last week distributing Chromebooks and instructional materials to families. We had schools that brought families into their gyms, and you can see everybody there wearing a face mask, including a very young student. And some schools conducted a drive-through. Hundreds of families from each school participated in these distribution events. And that picture in the bottom left is what it looks like if you're receiving a Chromebook from one of our staff members. It's kind of scary, but it's actually a good thing. EFGA construction. Contractors are completing their punch list items in our newest school. Classrooms are being cleaned, final trims are being installed, the audio system is being tested, and playground and kitchen equipment are being installed. Here's a view of the office. And this is the library, which looks like a great place to just go and relax, right? And read a good book. And there's a beautiful view all around this campus of the Estrellas and South Mountain. The digital divide has been an issue in many communities, and I'm very excited to tell you that the Levine Lions have donated $3,000 to the Levine Education Foundation in order to sponsor a Wi-Fi hotspot scholarship that allowed us to partner with Verizon in order to purchase 15 hotspots and 3 months of service per hotspot. The United Way has also given $10,000 for technology, as has Vulcan Mines giving $10,000, One GPA $1,000, and CI Solutions $1,000. So that's $25,000 in contributions to support our technology for distance learning. I'm happy to also announce that once again, the Virginia G. Piper Foundation has given us a $16,000 grant to be dispersed among our schools to provide uniforms for our families in need. We thank the foundation for their many years of support. Many years. The distribution of school meals changed on August 3rd. Meals will again be served on a free, reduced price, or paid basis depending on a family's eligibility status. We will have something later on the agenda tonight to address reduced price meals. Meals will be served curbside daily at each school site except Estrella Foothills between the hours of 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. Meals are only available to students who are presently enrolled in a Levine School District school. Meals may be picked up from any location regardless of the school a child attends. And parents or students must have their child's ID badge or student ID number in order to pick up meals. Breakfast and lunch will be served at one time. Breakfast is free for all lunch or Levine students, and lunch once again is served on a free, reduced price or paid basis based on the family's eligibility status. I just want to say a huge thank you to our child nutrition team who has rolled with the punches since March and has done an outstanding job for the last 5 months to take care of our community. And finally, congratulations to Robert Jacobson, who is our Director of Support Services, who was recently elected to the Arizona Association of School Board Officials Board of Directors as a Director of Maintenance and Operations. Mr. Jacobson was elected by his peers to serve in this role, and he does a huge service to this community. Is just wrapping up overseeing EFGA, and we are very proud of Robert and thankful for him. And those conclude my updates. President Anderson.
Thank you. And it looks like Jill Berrigan has joined us now, so
I am here. I was having fun with auditors. I'd rather be doing this, believe me.
Great. Glad you can make it.
Yeah. I came in when Dr. Sprout was speaking about food service. I appreciate that additional information. I don't know if I heard or not, but I know our food service in Avondale has been down significantly, and that's obviously a big concern, wanting to make sure that students still know they can be fed, and not sure if it's just a matter of parents are home with them, so they're good to go on feeding them, or it's too hot outside, nobody wants to go down to the school, but we need to just keep getting that information out there. So thanks for sharing that in the board meeting, Dr. Sprout.
Yep. Thank you. All right. Moving on to the next item. Dr. Sprout.
Thank you again, President Anderson, and I will once again share my screen. I will get my reader so I can read my screen. So once again, thank you, President Anderson, governing board members. For the summers for us, we sit around waiting for data to come in from the state. And many of us have been known to click refresh over and over again the day that we know that AZ Merit or Ames data is coming out to see what the results are. This summer, we click refresh to see what the next executive order is or when the next press conference is going to be by the governor. And we have had a series of executive orders that have come through. And we know that, 41, 44, and now 51. Wow. And tonight, I'm going to give you an overview of Executive Order 51. We do have a resolution later in the meeting during the action items for you to approve. But before we put that before you, I thought it would be wise to go over the key aspects of Executive Order 51. So here we go. First of all, I do want to remind you that what has driven this process for since March is 4 things. One is the safety of our students, staff, and community. That has been our number one and will continue to be our number one priority. Secondly, we spent the entire summer working to provide an outstanding learning and instructional environment for our students. We also want to care for the social emotional wellness of our students and our staff, and to provide options to parents during this tumultuous time. So on July 23rd, Governor Ducey had a press conference followed by the issuance of Executive Order 2020-51. You can see the key aspects there that I will be going through with the board. And the first order in the executive order was the establishment of public health benchmarks for the start of in-person classes. Those public health benchmarks are to be developed by the Arizona Department of Health Services, and they are required to come out by tomorrow. They were just released, by the way, a few hours ago, and I'll talk briefly about that. So school districts, in considering when to begin in-person teacher-led learning, are expected to use these benchmarks as well as guidance from Maricopa County, as well as taking into consideration our local resources and community needs. Our executive team and our safety committee and administrators will be looking at these new public health benchmarks and that have just been released, and will determine when to make a recommendation to the governing board for the start of in-person teacher-led classes. Once the governing board approves that, then we will go into what we're guessing is about a 2-week period where we will once again have parents select which options they want. And then we will begin allocating our staffing to make that happen. So first, we consider the benchmarks. When we feel like we have met the benchmarks, we will make a recommendation to the board, and then we'll begin the process of going to those 4 options that the board approved back in June. Our full online learning option, flexible distancing, our flexible distance option, which you may remember, students start online and move to in-person at the quarters, our everyday in-person option, and then our Estrella Foothills option of 18 students in-person option. So as I stated, those public health benchmarks just came out around 2 or 3 o'clock today. And these are the 3 benchmarks that Arizona Department of Health Services developed. One is a 2-week decline in weekly average cases, or 2 weeks below 100 cases per 100,000 population. Another big one is, you've heard about the percent of positive tests coming back, that we must be at 7 or below according to these benchmarks. I think right now we're around 12. And that COVID, for 2 weeks, that we have less than 10% of our hospital visits due to COVID-like illness. This is going to create a lot of homework for us. There is a webinar tomorrow. We will begin processing it, and we're going to get a lot more information. Also, don't forget that the county will be weighing in on this and giving their own guidance. And so this next week is going to be filled with us looking through these and figuring out the plan for Levine. But I did want you to know, and I will send you a link so that you can look at what the Arizona Department of Health Services sent out. So that was order 1. Also part of order 1 was that the district have a mitigation plan, which we have had in place. It's been on our website and is constantly being updated. It's obviously based on guidance from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Order number 2 states that we must begin the school year with a distance learning plan. Our plan was approved on July 27th, and that was implemented on Monday. And we are working according to our distance learning plan. The key aspects of that plan, and it is posted on our website, are how we will track attendance, how will we be utilizing our staff, our instructional methods, and monitoring of learning. And by the way, there is an emphasis in the executive order that we provide synchronous learning, in other words, live instruction to our students. We do both. Students can watch the instruction live, but for those who aren't able to be in the class, all of our lessons are also recorded. So if a parent wants to watch a lesson later with a student, they can do so. And then that we also address meeting the individual needs of students. So that order has been taken care of. Order number 3 is what we are calling learning labs in Levine, and that the executive order states that we need to provide a safe place for students to go to that need a safe place during the school day. We will be offering these learning labs from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Every school day. We will obviously have all of our mitigation strategies in place, and we are collecting interest from parents right now if they would like to have their child attend one of our learning labs. Most likely they will be on each campus, and this starts on August 17th. Order 4 stated that we needed to post these items on our website and notify parents, and each one of these has been posted: our distance learning plan, enrollment requirements, mitigation plan, and learning labs. Order 5 stated that we must have a face mask policy or regulation in place. The board has been sent our regulation that was developed by ASBA, or the Arizona School Boards Association, and reviewed by our attorney. We actually use a modified version developed by our attorney. You have that in your packet, but basically it requires all staff members and students to wear a face covering until Arizona Department of Health Services or we receive some form of directive not to have our students and staff wearing face coverings. It also gives examples, and our plan does, of when students and staff do not need to wear face coverings, such as while they're eating and while they are at recess and in certain situations. And then it also describes when people should never be wearing a face covering, and you can see that in the last bullet: children under the age of 2 and other situations. That regulation is going into effect. We have notified our staff, and so that was order 5, and then order 6. We have essential classified staff and non-essential classified staff. In other words, essential staff would be those we must have on campus every day in order for this district to function. However, we do have other positions that during a period of distance learning or online learning are not necessarily required. We are reassigning all of those staff members to support the distance learning plan. And so we will continue to pay and have those staff work their regular hours. There's many reasons why we do that. One is it supports this beginning of the school year. Secondly, it allows us to keep them on staff for when we do reopen. We can reopen without any extra hiring, and we have the budget already to pay these employees. And so everybody in Levine is working. They may not be doing their normal job, but they are doing something of significance during this distance learning, online learning time. That's my overview of the Executive Order 2020-51.
Great. Are there any questions or discussion with this?
Can you go back to, I think it was the second, where did it say that we had to open? There it is. Go back. Order, no, 1, 2, 3, 1 up. It was the next page, right there. Nope, that's not it. Implement. It's on the August 17th one. And what I want to know is right there, this one. That has not shall begin offering free on-site learning opportunities and support services who need a place to go. Was that something that we were going to do through Kids Club, or is that actually going to be educators, teachers?
Right. So no, Kids Club is a separate paid program that parents can put their children in if they would like to, and so that is its own paid program. These learning labs would be on our campus, and they would not be overseen by teachers because the teachers are teaching. And so this is where we will be utilizing some of our other staff that do not have assignments at this time. It will depend on the number of students, obviously, how many staff we need to cover these learning labs, but it will not be teachers, and it will not be Kids Club staff that will be overseeing this.
Will the people who are being asked to oversee this have an opportunity to turn it down and be placed elsewhere?
We would, with any assignment that we give, it would go under their job description to do other duties as assigned. And so if we have an employee that says that they are not able to do an assignment, they would have to go through human resources, and we would have to go, discuss with them why they are unable to do that assignment.
I hate to be that one, and I apologize, but how many kids are we going to put in a group? And this opens up all those other questions as if we were open. What do we do if a teacher gets sick? What if we do if one of the kids gets COVID? Now we have to put everybody in quarantine, everybody they've come in contact with.
Well, no, I hear your concern. It is our concern, and we will have our mitigation strategies in place. We will be obviously having a large amount of social distance opportunities. We can spread this out over our campuses. But this is part of the executive order that we are required to follow. And we are very aware that we have some students, we've even talked with our principals today, that are having very great struggles with this online environment. And so this is for those students. These are students that really are not safe being at home. And that was the intent of these learning labs. We also understand your concern, and what I would say is that please remember that our priority is the safety of our staff, and we will do everything we can to keep our staff safe at this time. We do have people, for example, Kids Club employees right now who are already in this situation. We have child nutrition, employees that are interacting with the public every day. This is something that we will be doing per the executive order. I think, again, we are looking at this through the lens of taking care of our most at-risk students who need this level of support.
Okay, I know some of the other districts have brought up that they're not starting until October. Does that have anything to do with they also have to come up with an online?
This is a state requirement, and it's actually also tied to funding as well. Any funding that we would receive to make up any loss in enrollment, we would need to have these learning labs in place as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Dr. Sprout, will Kids Club be open for parents who might need it from 3 o'clock on? Or is that not going to open until in-person begins?
No, Kids Club is open during its normal hours and during the school day. Am I correct?
So there'll be the after-school option for parents?
Yes, there will be the
before
after-school
school or the
option.
both? Okay.
Yes.
Very good.
All right, any other discussion or questions? Okay, thank you, Dr. Sprout. I'm going to move on to the presentation and discussion of educator effectiveness and teacher retention.
Okay, sorry. I'm transitioning over to Mr. Thomas now. I think you should have.
Good evening, President Anderson, members of the governing board, and Dr. Sprout. Thank you for the opportunity tonight to give you an update, our annual update on our educator effectiveness data. I'm going to jump right into the presentation with a graph that shows the educator effectiveness labels for all of our teachers for the 2019-2020 school year. As you can see from the graph in front of you, that 35% of our teachers were labeled highly effective. 60% were labeled effective for a total effective and highly effective rate of 95%. As you can see from the graph, 4% of our teachers were developing and 1% or 4 teachers were labeled ineffective. And I will let the board know that 3 of those 4 teachers are no longer employed with the school district. The next chart is a 3-year comparison of the teacher effectiveness labels over time. So as you can see, from the year before to last year, we took a 1% dip or decline in highly effective, and we increased effectiveness teacher from 54 to 60% or a 6% increase. Again, going from a 90% to a 95% effective and highly effective educator effectiveness label rate. I just wanted to remind you that highly effective teachers are teachers that receive 400 to 500 points on their annual evaluation scorecard are eligible for 100% of the educator effectiveness performance pay, which for 2019-2020 school year was $2,000. I also want to remind you that ineffective teachers, as well as developing teachers at step 4 or above on the certified teacher salary schedule, those are teachers who are developing but have been teaching for more than 3 years and are still developing, are not eligible for teacher performance pay. This chart shows you the percent of allocation for developing and effective teachers. So as I mentioned before, 95% of our teachers fell in the effective or highly effective rate. So 35% of them received the $2,000 100% allocation. The rest fell somewhere of that 65% received anywhere from 70 to 90%. 70% of the $2,000 is $1,400. So 95% of our teachers receive $1,400 or more through the educator effectiveness performance pay. I do want to take you back to last fall before school closure when the performance pay committee recommended and you approved the educator effectiveness performance pay plan. As you remember, state statute requires that 20 to 33% of the teachers' annual evaluation include student academic data. It was recommended and approved that the Levine district use 25%. I also wanted to remind you that last fall with the elimination of Galileo and Ames Web, as we transitioned to NWEA, we recommended and you approved for AZ Merit to be the performance indicator for student academic data. Another change last year had to do with the ability to waive a second formal observation for continuing teachers. Those are teachers that have been in the Levine district, have completed 3 years teaching in the Levine school district. They would have had to receive 45 points on their first formal observation, and they would have had to have been effective or highly effective the year before. So prior to school closure, this was the performance measures for educator effectiveness, as I just mentioned. The 25% that was recommended and approved, and then the AZ Merit was the performance measure. For the grade levels that didn't have AZ Merit, K2, they used school-wide and 3rd grade level data. That was the proposal. Then came the school closures, right? So we reconvened the committee on April 28th after school closures to give a recommendation to the revisions of the plan. Those recommendations went before the governing board last May on May 7th, and you approved those. And the whole intent behind the revisions in that recommendation was really to hold teachers harmless. School closures Also canceled state testing. So even though we were required to use we had none. So to hold a teacher harmless without having state testing data was the intent there. However, statute still required that we use academic progress for their effectiveness label. And as I just mentioned in the fall, that was 25%. Statute requires anywhere between 20 to 33. So the plan that we brought before you on May 7th dropped that student academic data down to the lowest possible percentage based on the statute. So we went from 25% to the lowest we can go is 20%. I'm going to bring this slide back in front of you just to show you what we believe was a successful and effective plan or revision to that plan. As you can see, without state testing and the plan that we developed and recommended to you and you approved, there aren't big gaps or large discrepancies between the prior year and the plan that we came up with, not having student academic data. So we thought with the outcome of this, it was fair and a relevant plan. So educator effectiveness performance pay checks went out last Friday, July 31st. The average performance pay check was $1,642, and the total amount of performance pay money distributed was $640,498. I also just wanted to briefly touch on our teacher retention rate. Does the educator effectiveness performance pay add to our teacher retention rate? We'd like to think it plays some role, along with many others. The support of our governing board with our competitive salary schedule, the support of our governing board with all of our resources, whether it's one-to-one technology devices or curricular programs, our facilities and buildings, our incredible admin team. We'd like to think that all of that plays a role in teacher retention. And as you can see, we have an 86% retention rate from the prior year, and we're up 10% over a couple years ago and 14% over you. So we're really proud of that. And I threw in a little asterisk there to just remind you that, during all this, we're in the middle of a pandemic and a school year like no other, right? And we are fully staffed. This is giving me a wood table would have been appropriate, but thank you, President Anders. If you'll just keep that in mind. And Dr. Sprout and I always make a joke whenever we mention that, the phone could ring tomorrow with all the life happenings right now. But for us to be in the position that we're in right now really says a lot about the support we receive from the governing board, our superintendent, our district leadership, and our admin team that really want to support and give our teachers the support, the resources that they need to deliver quality instruction. So with that concludes my presentation. Bearing any questions from the board?
Great. Anything? Thank you, Mr. Thomas. That's exciting news that teachers get a little nugget of goodness right before school starts. So that's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
But definitely, I think the key thing in keeping teachers here is just that great communication, really building those relationships and allowing them to do their jobs effectively. It just really helps and pay them well too. Bonuses to help, right? So thank you for that.
I agree. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. It is requested the governing board approve the consent agenda items as submitted. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on to board considerations and actions. It is recommended the governing board approve the resolution related to Executive Order 2020-51. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The governing board ratify the submission of the district's distance learning plan to the Arizona Department of Ed. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. It is recommended the governing board approve no charge Kids Club childcare for on-site employees beginning August 3rd, 2020 until the start of in-person teacher-led learning.
Motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. It is recommended the governing board approve the contract with BWS Architects for architect services for the Desert Meadows Preschool Building addition. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. It is recommended the governing board approve the developer assistance agreement with Brookfield Holdings, LLC in Ashton Woods, Arizona, as presented. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it is recommended the governing board approve the 2021 capital plan and authorize Kevin Haggerty, Chief Financial Officer, to transmit the document on behalf of the district.
So moved.
Great. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, it is recommended the governing board approve waiving the 40-cent copay for reduced price students for the 2020 to 21 fiscal year.
So, second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, it is requested the governing board appoint a delegate to represent Levine Elementary School District as the district delegate to the Arizona School Boards Association Delegate Assembly on October 17th. Anybody want to raise their hand to do that?
I enjoy it. If nobody else wants to.
I do too.
Okay, so if you would, I did it last time, so it's actually your turn. But if you don't want to, I would be happy to.
All right. So we could say it's recommended that Michelle Anderson be the delegate and then Fern Warren be the runner-up
That works for me.
Alternate.
as an alternate.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Isaac.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Make sure I put that on my calendar. All right. Okay, policy revisions. It is recommended that the governing board conduct the first reading of the proposed policy revisions or can choose to waive the second reading and adopt the proposed policy revisions.
I move that we waive the second reading and adopt.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and then it is recommended the governing board approve the liability endorsement and acknowledgement forms provided by the trust.
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, any comments from the board?
I have a question, which I was wondering, we have the online learning. What are the art, music, and PE teachers doing? How do they interact with all of this? I can't hear her. How do they do like music, singing?
Yeah, they're being creative as they did in the spring, and so the special area teachers are collaborating. I actually met with them the first day that they all 25. They were sharing strategies and ways to show lessons.
So they're recording lessons that then the teacher can plug in different times.
So students have a special area they have to switch.
Oh, they do.
In addition to their, yeah, we're really working hard to mirror regular school day for our students.
Mm-hmm.
They have like ELA class and math class and science class.
Wow.
That's a full day for our students this time around.
Mm-hmm. But there's no hands-on musical instruments or art.
Not hands-on in person yet.
No, so everything is just visual.
Yeah. I'd be happy to get an update for you of some
Yeah.
examples of what they're doing.
There are some programs. My grandson is learning to play the piano at home through video. I mean, there are programs for learning to play instruments online, and so okay.
Me, myself, I'd like to thank the staff and administrators, challenge in a difficult time, and we are moving forward. You want to let the parents know that don't feel your kids are going to fall behind because life is a journey, and kids and people will catch up. So never feel that they're going to fall behind, and just try to keep them active. I do see a lot of kids are starting to get chubby, and the lack of exercise and the lack of activities is hurting their health. So, and it does help with their stress. But again, great job. Continue moving forward. Continue to be positive, and we'll all get through this together.
I would like to add thank you, Dr. Sprout and staff. You guys have just done an amazing job in an impossible situation. Thank you also to the generosity of our partners for the hot spots, for the uniforms. Hopefully the children will be able to wear them back to school shortly. And I definitely want to ditto what Isaac said, that use this opportunity at home to get to know your kids better. They'll catch up. This is nothing to panic over. Having your kids at home should not be a panic situation. So thank you, teachers, for everything you guys are doing. And if anybody needs masks, let me know. I'm still sewing.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
No, Jill, go ahead. I was actually going to ask if you had any comments.
Okay. Just a reiteration of what, I've shared previously in terms of understanding all of the intricacies and the itty bitty little teeny tiny pieces of all of this that are considered by all of our staff in the Levine district. Those itty bitty teeny tiny pieces make a difference to students and to the families. I can tell you Reagan's first few days have been very challenging, but that is not because of any thoughtlessness on anybody's part. It is an extremely challenging situation. So I know it's said in jest and support to not panic that our kids at home, but there are parents, including myself, who are panicked about it because it is a very worrisome situation. She's already lost 3 months of education along with every other kid in this state at the end of the school year. And we're headed down that road again this year. And so I really do hope that our numbers are trending in the right direction soon because these students belong in school.
Yes.
We are a working family, but there are other reasons that families need their children in school that are far more important than what my husband and I are facing with our daughter. So I do hope that we can get there soon, but we do need to recognize that we have teachers that are worried about coming back to school and other staff, but we also have teachers and staff who are ready and willing to come back. We have families who are panicked about coming back to school in person, but we also have families who want and need their children back. And we need to make sure we recognize and do what we can to meet everybody's needs to the best of our ability.
Great, thank you. I would agree. I mean, I think we all want to have everybody in school. It's so good for kids' social emotional development as well, for them to be interacting with others. But we also need to be also very cognizant and cautious, and not jump in with 2 feet, but slowly ease into this process. But I just also wanted to give a huge shout out to the tech department here in Laveen, because I know that you guys have probably worked endless hours, just trying to get the tech component all up and going and ensuring that kids have devices, distributing those, dealing with all those troubleshooting issues with teachers and parents as well. So I appreciate your patience and all of that, and just your huge support with that, even the little videos that you're creating to help make it easier for parents. So thank you for that piece. I know it's a lot of work. So welcome back, teachers. We are excited to have you back. I certainly do miss seeing all the principals sitting in here in the boardroom. So hopefully we can do that soon. So thanks for a great start to the year in a very different circumstance. All right, we have a regular meeting of the governing board will be held September 10th, 2020. All meetings will be held at 5:30 p.m. unless otherwise posted in the Laveen Education Center. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Great, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.